Action.
Hey everybody, this is GGB, and today we're going to be talking about the best sport of all time, football. And this is my co-host Poppers. We're coming at you from the sunny state of Florida. So first, we're going to break this podcast down into 3 segments. The first one's going to be the predictions of this Week 15 games. Second one, the playoff picture, who I think is going to get in. And Poppers, calm down. I know we disagree about who's going to get into the playoffs, but there's no need to attack me. And then the third final segment would be about college football bowl games that are coming on this weekend. So everyone knows this weekend, at least if you're a football fan, that the Chargers-Chiefs play tonight in Arrowhead Stadium. Poppers! What? She doesn't like the Chiefs, so she doesn't like it when I mention Arrowhead Stadium. So she tries to attack me, but we'll just try to get through this segment without her eating my head. The Chiefs have beaten the Chargers the last 9 of their meetings together. The Chiefs have absolutely dominated against the Chargers in the past few years, but the Chargers have looked very good this year, so I predict a very close game between the two of them. Phillip Rivers and Patrick Mahomes are both MVP candidates this year, and I think it will be a really good offensive game, but I think the Chiefs are going to be able to pull it out in the end. Now, moving on to Saturday's games, we got the Texans and the Jets. The Texans at the Jets Stadium. Texans are a very good football team, 9-4 right now on the year. Tied with the Patriots, except for the Patriots on the tiebreaker. So if they finish this at the same record, the Patriots will get the number 2 seed. Right now, I think the Texans are a really good football team, and the Jets just really aren't. Texans are playing well on both sides of the football. Even though that weird game against the Colts last week, I still think they're going to beat the Jets in a landslide. The Jets did play well last week against a good Bills defense, but I just think that the Texans defense is better. The Texans offense is... What? Oh, Poppers is a Jets fan. So. She doesn't like it when I talk bad about the Jets. So, but I do think the Texans are going to win this game in a blowout. Poppers left. She doesn't care about this anymore. She got mad at me for talking good about the Chiefs and talking bad about the Jets. So, anyways, we're moving on to the last Saturday night football game, Browns at the Broncos Stadium. Both teams are playing out of their minds this year. The Browns are actually a good football team after going 0-16 last year, and the Broncos, after having 2 or 3 or 4 wins, they just weren't a good football team last year. They got Case Keenum and Phillip Lindsay, and now they have a really good offense, and I think they're just both good teams, but I think that Case Keenum, the veteran, will bring the Broncos to a victory against the Cleveland Browns. And next, we get Sunday football games, noon. Got the Cardinals at the Falcons Stadium. Both teams have just been really, really not good this year. The Cardinals have 3 wins, Falcons have 4. Both teams have just not been great. The Falcons were a surprise this year because everyone thought they would be a good team with a good quarterback in Matt Ryan, but they just really have not been. Hey, Poppers is back. She likes when I just like talk bad about the Falcons. She's not a Falcons fan. So the Falcons have just been really bad this year, and they're just not a good football team. And the Cardinals have been absolutely not good at all. They were supposed to, at the beginning of the year, they were supposed to be an okay football team. But with Josh Rosen just not performing well, Sam Bradford didn't perform well at the beginning of the season, so they were forced to go to Josh Rosen, and they just haven't been good for the past few weeks, except for that upset win against the Packers. Now, I think the Falcons will win this game in a blowout because the Falcons' offense is okay, and the Falcons' defense is terrible, but the Cardinals' offense isn't any good either. So, Falcons are going to win this game in a blowout. Cardinals are just not a good enough football team to play against the Falcons. Next up is the Raiders and Bengals. These games, they don't mean much to the playoff race at this point, but the Raiders at the Bengals Stadium. The Raiders actually played very well last week, beating the Steelers in an upset win that no one saw coming. One of the most surprising things to happen in Week 14. But also the Bengals were a big surprise because they played very well against a good Chargers team. But the Chargers ended up coming out at the end and pulling it out. The Bengals have another loss on their record. But I think the Bengals will pull this one out. They were going to win a close game for sure, but I think the Bengals defense can keep them in this game, and Joe Mixon, a great running back, can keep them in this, get them to the victory. The next game is the Dolphins at the Vikings. This is a huge Week 15 matchup because both teams are playing for their season at this point. Dolphins with an amazing Miami miracle last week against the New England Patriots. If you have not seen that video, you need to watch it. One of the best things to ever happen in the NFL history. And the Vikings have just not been playing well at all. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks 21-7. They've not been a good football team up to recently. So I think the Dolphins will win this game close because I think the Vikings defense can keep them in this ball game. But I think the Dolphins are a better team offensively and defensively. I think they can shut down Kirk Cousins in a run game that's non-existent from the Vikings. And I think the Dolphins will probably go down the field and score a last-minute touchdown to win the game. Now the next game is another key matchup. It's Cowboys at the Colts Stadium. Colts also playing for their season after beating the Texans, which not everyone saw coming. Colts have been a good football team up to recently, but so have the Cowboys. They beat the Saints in a heartbreaking loss for the poor Saints. But the Cowboys have been a good football team. They're probably going to clinch the NFC East. But the Colts have also been a good football team. I think this game's going to be close, but I think Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and Ezekiel Elliott can beat Andrew Luck and an injured T.Y. Hilton. So I think the Cowboys are going to win this game close. The Buccaneers at the Ravens Stadium. Ravens have been a good football team this year. They weren't that good under Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco got hurt. Lamar Jackson stepped in at quarterback, and now they are leading. He is one of the best running backs in the NFL, but he's a quarterback. He is the fifth most rushing yards of all players in the NFL right now. So Lamar Jackson is a really good runner, not that great of a thrower, so they're eventually going to figure that out. But I think they're going to win against a very bad Bucs defense, and the Bucs offense isn't great either. So I just think the Ravens are going to win this game in a blowout. Now the Lions at the Bills. These teams are both playing for draft spots at this point. They're both pretty much out of it. The Bills have been technically eliminated, and the Lions are still technically in it, but it is a long shot for them to make the playoffs. They'd have to get in with only 7 wins, and that's if they win 3 straight. So the Lions are going to go to Buffalo, and Buffalo has always been a tough place to play in the cold in December. So I think the Buffalo Bills will be able to pull that out. Josh Allen is playing amazing football with running and passing, that arm of his. And Matthew Stafford has just not been a good quarterback up to recently. Puppers doesn't like it when I dislike Matthew Stafford. She's a Georgia fan. Her mom was a Bulldog, so she's a big Georgia fan, and she doesn't like when I just smash talk Georgia players, but Matthew Stafford just hasn't been very good. So then the Packers at the Bears this weekend. Ooh, I think this is gonna be a close game. Packers have normally not been playing good football up to recently, and the Bears have, but Aaron Rodgers just had Mike McCarthy fired, so he is playing for basically his starting role. Well, not his starting role. He's going to keep his starting role, but it's to prove that the reason he was bad was Mike McCarthy and not the fact that he's just not a very good quarterback. Aaron Rodgers wants to win this game against a good Chicago Bears team to keep his team in the playoff conversation, which I mean isn't out of the question considering it's a bad NFC wild cards this year. So I still think the Bears are going to beat them, but I think Aaron Rodgers will keep this game close even against the tremendous Bears defense. Yeah. The next game is the Redskins at the Jaguars. Both teams are bad for different reasons. The Jaguars had Leonard Fournette injured at the beginning of the season, which really derailed their season, but they started out 3-0 and they proceeded to go 1 and whole bunch. They are not a good football team right now. Calm down, honey. I know you like the Jaguars, but they're not good. Jaguars were supposed to be a favorite to win the Super Bowl this year, but with only 4 wins, they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Jaguars are not a good football team, but the reason the Redskins are bad is a different reason. Redskins are supposed to not be very good this season, but they started out winning the NFC East in an upset no one saw coming. No one thought the Eagles would be this bad and the Cowboys would be that bad at the beginning of the season. So the Redskins were winning. Unfortunately, in the Texans game, something happened. If you don't know, Alex Smith broke his leg on the 35-year anniversary of Joe Theismann breaking his leg. What? Sorry, 33 years, not 35. My mistake. Joe Theismann broke his leg 33 years ago for the Redskins on the exact same day Alex Smith broke his leg. Colt McCoy started the games. He almost led an amazing comeback against the Texans. Almost led an amazing comeback against the Cowboys at Thanksgiving, only falling short by 8 points. But against the Eagles on Monday Night Football in Redskin fashion, unfortunately, Colt McCoy also broke his leg. So right now, Josh Johnson is now the starting quarterback for the Redskins. Their offensive line is completely destroyed. Now, the Redskins, though, I think they can go into Jacksonville and beat Jacksonville just because Jacksonville's not a very good football team. A Redskins defense will carry them through this one. I think the Redskins win this football game. Next is the Titans and the Giants. Titans at Giants. To be honest, if Giants hadn't lost that Eagles game a few weeks ago, they'd be deep in the playoff hunt. They, after going 1-7, they proceeded to go 5-1 for the next 6 games, bringing them to a record of 6-8. If they had won that one, they'd be at 7-7 right now, and they'd be in a great spot. Maybe not 7-7. I don't know. But the Giants are playing real good football. Titans, I just don't see them doing much. I mean, Derrick Henry had an amazing game against the Jaguars, but that was against the Jaguars defense that just hasn't done much this year. And I think the Titans will lose to the Giants in a close one. Giants win this one close. Seahawks at the 49ers. Now, this is my upset of the week. 49ers played amazing football against the Broncos. George Kittle almost broke the record for a single game receiving for a tight end. And they just absolutely dominated that Denver team. But the Seahawks also had a great win against the Vikings on Monday this week. And so I think the 49ers will be able to pull this one out. It's a close game, but I think the 49ers win this football game. Now, one of the people were absolutely hyped for this game at the beginning of the season. Everyone loves the Patriots at Steelers match every single year. And it looked like it was going to be a good one this year, but unfortunately, the Steelers and the Patriots are both coming off hard losses. The Patriots have looked pretty good, but unfortunately lost to Miami to a Miami Miracle. And Steelers just have not looked good, winning one of their past 4 games, and even that one, they should have lost to the Jaguars. So the Steelers are not playing good football. The Patriots are. I don't see this one being close. Patriots win this game in a blowout. Now, Eagles at Rams. Rams have been one of the best teams in the NFL this season, beating the Chiefs, almost beating the Saints. But right now, the Rams are one of the best football teams. And if you look at the Eagles, or I call them the Eagles because they're Eagles, they're not very good. Eagles probably will be starting Nick Foles in this game. I just don't see them beating them with Nick Foles. Rams win this game in a blowout. Now, the last game of this week, Monday Night Football, not Miami. Monday Night Football, Saints at the Panthers Stadium. Oh, this has been one of the best matches in these past few years. There was the matchup in the NFC wild card last year, and it was an amazing football game, back and forth throughout the entire game. Saints pulled it out in the end, and I think the Saints pull this one out in the end too. Close game. Cam Newton's not playing very well. Drew Brees is. Saints defense is dominating other teams. They're just playing very well football. I think the Saints win this one close, though. So, moving on to the second portion of our podcast today, we're going to be doing the playoff predictions for my playoff predictions. So, my playoff prediction, Addie, Bumpers, do you want your input into the playoff predictions? She said the Chiefs should be the number 12th seed because she doesn't like the Chiefs. But, Addie, that's not the way things work. You don't get to decide what happens. Okay, so the number 1 seed, I think it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have been playing phenomenal football with Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, and even Spencer Ware taking in for Kareem Hunt after he was cut. But I think they're going to finish around 13-3, maybe lose to the Seahawks next week. It depends. I think they're going to be a real good football team to beat. Okay, so the second seed I think is going to be the New England Patriots, just because they have no one. The hardest game they have left on the record is the Steelers. I just don't see them losing that game. They get to play Buffalo after that, and they get to play the Jets. And these teams are not very good, and I think the Steelers end up winning out. They get that number 2 seed. Number 3 seed, I think, is going to be the Houston Texans. They're going to probably win out as well. They get to play the Jets, and they get to play the Jags the last week. And they have to play the Titans one more time in there, but I think Texans are too good of a football team to lose any more games. But the problem is, thanks to that week 1 game against the Patriots had the tiebreaker between the Texans, and the Texans are now the 3rd seed because of that game. Now the 4th seed, AFC North, is the question. What? AFC North is the question. What do you want, Addie? Addie says, I think it's going to be the Ravens. And she's right. I think it's going to be the Ravens as well. The Baltimore Ravens will win, probably go 2-1, but if you look at the Steelers' schedule, they have to play the Patriots. I think that's a loss. They have to play the Saints after that. That's another loss. And I just think that the Ravens are going to win their 2 out of the last 3 games, and the Patriots are only going to win. The Steelers are only going to win 1. Ravens pull it out. They're going to win the division. Now the number 5 seed. Everyone probably knows what this is going to be. It's the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers are playing phenomenal football right now. They are really good. Phillip Rivers is an MVP contestant. Single-handedly keep them in games. They're just a really good football team, and I think they're going to get the number 5 seed. Now, the 6th seed. A lot of people are debating this. Is it going to be, well, in my case, is it going to be the Steelers, the Colts, the Dolphins, or the Titans? Now, my answer is, drum roll please, Eddie. I think it's going to be the Dolphins. The Dolphins are playing phenomenal football right now, and they have an easy schedule left. If they can beat the Vikings, all they have to do is beat Buffalo and Jacksonville. And I think they can do it. All they need to do is hope for Steelers losses, which I told you I think they're going to lose to the Patriots and the Saints in the next 2 weeks. Colts team. The Colts team has to play the Cowboys this week. I think that might be a loss. They have to play the Titans in the last week. Another might be maybe loss. And they have to play. Those 2 games are enough. They're probably going to lose those 2. Oh, they have to play the Giants as well. If they go 2-1, I'd be amazed, because those are 3 teams that are playing real good football right now. Addie, I know you don't like the Colts, but there's no reason to bark. Addie, look at me. Poppers, calm down. So I think it's going to be, barely missed it. Number 17 is going to be the Colts. Number 8's the Steelers. Number 9's the Broncos. Number 10's the Titans. Number 11's the Cleveland Browns. And number 12 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Now in the NFC, I think number 1 seed's going to be the Saints. I think the Saints, at the beginning of the year, I thought those last 3 games are going to be losses. I'm like, I can chalk all those up to a loss. Floating puppers going on over here. But I think after I saw what the Panthers did, losing the past 5 games straight, they're just not a good football team right now. Cam Newton's not being a very good quarterback. He's just not playing well. The only reason they're still in games is because Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the nation right now. But I still think they're going to lose to the Saints twice. And the Steelers are just not playing good football. So I think the Saints keep their record, and they get the number 1 seed. Now, the number 2 seed will go to the LA Rams. The LA Rams are also playing real good football. They're going to win their last 3 games probably easily. And they're easily the number 2 seed. Now, the number 3 seed is, I think, going to be the Bears. The Chicago Bears are playing real good football right now. Their defense is flying. Their offense isn't very good, but Jacksonville proved last year that you don't have to have a very good offense and make it far. Chicago's defense is playing amazing, and they're just real good right now. Now, the number 4 seed is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. It's almost 100% that they're going to clinch the NFC East because all they have to do is win 1 game of their last 3. Now, the Dallas Cowboys are playing really well. They're playing real good football right now. They've beat the Saints. They beat a good Redskins team when they played them on Thanksgiving. And they've just had a really long winning streak. Right now, the longest winning streak in the NFL right now is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that being said, their defense is really carrying them. If Amari Cooper can keep it up, though, Dak Prescott will have a constant target to go to. Raiders really messed up on that one. Giving life to a Dallas Cowboys team that was pretty much dead, and giving life to a Chicago Bears defense with Khalil Mack. Now, the number 5 seed will almost 100% be the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are playing real good football and be the team in the wild card matchup that you don't want to play. They're playing real good defense. The new Legion of Boom is playing well. Everyone was questioning what was going on at the beginning of the season with the Seahawks. Were they going through a remodel? But it turns out Pete Carroll and the general manager were right. The offensive line is playing out of their minds. On offensive line that people thought were going to be terrible this year is actually really good. And defense, after getting rid of the Legion of Boom, is also real good this year. So they're going to get the number 5 seed. Now, the question is, who's going to get the number 6 seed? There is a whole bunch of teams in the mix right now. The Vikings at the stop spot. And then you got the Eagles, the Panthers, and you have the Redskins. And the Packers are in that mix as well. But I think the Redskins are going to pull it out. I know everyone's like, what? The Redskins, they're terrible. But Josh Johnson brought alive that offense last week. Their defense can't stop running backs. But if you look at the rest of their record, all they have the only real running back they have left to face, well, actually they have 2. They have to stop Leonard Fournette, which is going to be tough, but he's a good running back. And they have to stop Derrick Henry. But I think Derrick Henry's just not that good this year. He just had a good game. And I think Leonard Fournette's the offensive line is really hurting him this year. So I think the Redskins can pull it out, going 3-0 in their last 3 games. I think they pull it out. They get the number 6 seed, beating out the Minnesota Vikings, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Carolina Panthers, and the Green Bay Packers. Now, final segment of today's podcast will be the college football game predictions. Everyone was excited beginning of the year. Everyone wanted their teams to go all the way. Only 4 of them have a chance now. If you're in Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama, or Clemson fan. I'm sorry, I forgot the last team in the playoffs. You should be happy right now. Right now, we're going to announce but every team that got to a bowl game, congratulations. Hope you win your bowl game, except for Kentucky, because they're going to lose to Penn State. So I'm a huge Penn State fan. But we're going to talk about the bowl games this week coming up. New Mexico Bowl this weekend, first bowl game of the season. North Texas, the Mean Green versus Utah State Aggies. Both teams outshining expectations for this year. Utah State only losing 2 games all year, beating good football teams this year. Utah State Aggies head coach was actually hired for the Texas Tech head coach job. So now Utah State has to find a new head coach. North Texas Mean Green, one of the best offenses to watch this year. And if you have not seen the spectacular fake fair catch play, you need to see that against Arkansas. He pretends to wave a fair catch. Arkansas guys don't tackle him. And instead he runs for a touchdown untouched against the Arkansas Razorbacks. But that might be because they're the Arkansas Razorbacks. I think the Mean Green win, North Texas Mean Green win close, but I think it's a real good bowl game. You should watch it. Now the Cure Bowl in Orlando. Tulane Green Wave versus University of Louisiana at Lafayette Raging Cajuns. Now, the Raging Cajuns were real close. They almost beat the Appalachian State Mountaineers in the championship this year. Now, Tulane has not been good this year. I just think Tulane is probably going to lose this football game. The Raging Cajuns pull it out in the end. Raging Cajuns. Go Raging Cajuns. If you guys didn't know, Raging Cajuns was one of the first football teams I've ever seen watch. So, we're gonna finish up these last few bowl games. We got the Las Vegas Bowl, Arizona State Sun Devils versus Fresno State Bulldogs. Fresno State won the MWC this year. No one saw it coming, and Arizona State was way better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Fresno State Bulldogs, I think, are a better football team than a lot of people have them out to be, and I think the Bulldogs will win this bowl game very close. Now, the Camellia Bowl, Eastern Michigan Eagles versus the Georgia Southern Eagles. These two Eagle teams, they're the Eagle Bowl, really, but Eastern Michigan just has not been good in the MAC this year. Georgia Southern beat Appalachian State somehow in an upset victory. I think the Georgia Southern Eagles are a good football team. They're going to win this game in a blowout. Now the New Orleans Bowl, one of the best bowl games in my opinion this coming up season. So in this one we have Appalachian State, the Sun Belt champions, versus the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, the Conference USA, the backup champ, like the people who went to the bowl, the team that lost in their conference championship. Both are real good football teams, especially Appalachian State, almost beating Penn State in an upset at the beginning of the season, but unfortunately falling in overtime to Penn State. But I think the Mountaineers will win this bowl game, but it will be close. Now, the last two bowl games of the week, we have the Tuesday bowl game, Boca Raton Bowl, Northern Illinois versus UAB. UAB won the Conference USA this year, one of the best Conference USA championships ever. And you have Northern Illinois, who somehow came back from a 35-point deficit in the MAC championship game to beat Buffalo Bulls. Now, I think Northern Illinois and versus UAB will be one of the best matchups this year in bowl games, but I think UAB wins it close. They're a good football team this year. Northern Illinois' offense just won't be able to compete with that. Last bowl, Wednesday, next week, Ohio Bobcats in the Frisco Bowl, Ohio Bobcats versus San Diego State Aztecs. Now, the Aztecs were good last year with Rashad Penny, barely losing to Army in their bowl game because the Army coach decided to go for 2 instead of 1. That would tie the game. 2 won the game. The Aztecs are good this year. Ohio is not. I think the Aztecs win this game in a blowout. Now, thank you for watching this first episode of GGB's podcast. I hope you guys come join us next week for more. Also, my other channel is called Eli Smith. If you want, I have my Eagle Scout PSA on there. Please go watch it. Might change your mind about something. And I should be uploading Madden videos if you're a Madden fan. This channel is going to be real fun, at least for me. I hope you guys enjoy watching my videos. Thank you. Bye. Alright, we gotta get ready to go. What?